The claim is that mostly people of color have been laid off. Hmm, sounds about white. Hello, everybody. My name is Cynthia, and welcome back to another episode of The Roots Matter, a show that talks about news and politics from a secular point of view that is hosted by a Black woman, such as I. And today I wanted to talk to you about a story that I found in the New York Post, rather, about a producer that worked for CBS News that has been laid off, who happens to be a Black man. And he has a pretty interesting claim that I want to review with you today. So let's hear from his words himself. So let's go ahead and hear from this gentleman. And we want to give a shout out to Jay Reed, who actually posted this on his YouTube channel.
Just got laid off from my job at CBS, and every producer on my team who got laid off is a person of color. Every person who gets to stay and will be relocated within the company is a white person. Now, in my meeting with the executive who told me I was getting laid off, I specifically asked him if it was a consideration for us to be relocated somewhere else within the company, and he said that we advocated to keep the show. We advocated to try to get you relocated somewhere, and we couldn't. Because I asked him, why are you the person who is making this decision or delivering the news that we're being laid off? And he said, oh, it could have been anyone. Only to later find out, because it wasn't until I went downstairs thinking that me and all of my colleagues had been laid off, that I found out that it was only the people of color. So I went one by one to my white colleagues. Are you getting laid off? No. 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 So I went back up to his office and I told him, I think you lied to my face. And come to find out, it was not his decision to eliminate the show that I worked for. But he did get to decide who got to stay.
And I do have a companion story to actually go along with this. Okay, so this is entitled from the New York Post, ex-CBS producer alleges race-based layoffs after Paramount cuts hit news division. And this is by Ariel Zib-Burr, and it was published on October 31st, 2025. And let's just read a little bit of it. So, a former CBS News producer accused of network of race-based layoffs after corporate parent Paramount Skydance introduced sweeping cuts, claiming in a viral TikTok that every producer laid off from his team was a person of color, while white colleagues were reassigned. Trey Sherman, who is Black, served as an associate producer for CBS Evening News, a streaming extension of the network's flagship broadcast that was among the programs shuttered during the layoffs. He also worked for CBS Race and Culture Unit, which was dissolved in the same round of cuts that affected about 100 staffers across the division. Sherman said in a TikTok posted Wednesday, I just got laid off from my job at CBS, and every producer on my team who got laid off is a person of color. Every person who gets to stay and will be relocated within the company is a white person. Sherman went on to describe a tense exchange with the CBS executive who informed him of the decision. He said the executive claimed to have done everything he could to relocate affected staffers, but later admitted that those who kept their jobs were people he had worked with before. Sherman called that explanation racist, arguing that regardless of intent, the outcome amounted to racial discrimination. I went one by one to my white colleagues. Are you getting laid off? No. Are you getting laid off? No, he recounted. He said he confronted the executive afterward, accusing him of lying about the layoffs being evenly distributed. The former producer also alleged that the executive told him the layoffs were not based on merit but on familiarity, keeping employees he had previously worked with. I don't care if you decided to keep people who have purple colored hair, Sherman said in his video. If the outcome of that decision is racist, then the action is racist, and that S is effed up. I'm going to stop sharing there. And, Mr. Sherman is not the only person that seems to have been affected by some of these layoffs. I have another story coming from the Independent that talked about actually having women laid off from CBS too. So they got caught in the fray. So let me go ahead and get that story up for you. Oh, it is something going on at CBS. Can we say that for sure? Why not? Okay. Okay, so this particular story is from the Independent. It was published on October 30th, 2025, and the author is Justin Baragona. So let's read a little bit of this one, shall we? After weeks of nerve-wracking anticipation, Paramount finally followed through with its tough day of layoffs, which included letting roughly 100 CBS News employees go on Wednesday. All told, the sweeping cuts resulted in the loss of two streaming shows, the gutting of the network's Saturday morning news program, and the disbanding of its race and culture unit. On top of that, eight on-air correspondents and hosts were giving their pink slips, and all of them are women, with half of them being people of color. According to three sources with knowledge of the situation, a male correspondent was initially included on the layoff list, but was removed after he appealed directly to the new editor-in-chief, Barry Wise, leading to another female correspondent being added to the list at the last minute. Meanwhile, a CBS News producer who was fired as part of the network-wide cuts took to social media as to suggest that executives were engaging in race-based layoffs, claiming that every producer from his team who was laid off is a person of color, while his white colleagues were relocated to other jobs. And this is, in my opinion, one of the more important things that we should highlight. While the layoffs have been anticipated since Chairman David Ellison took over Paramount in August following its politically fought merger with Skydance Media, they also take place after Ellison promised the Trump administration that he'd eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion policies once he took over the company. And I'm going to stop sharing there because, my dear viewers, guess what? I have thoughts. So it's interesting that we have these women, people of color, the race and culture unit completely being gutted from CBS. And we know why. He just already said that the person that took over CBS said that he was going to get rid of their DEI unit. He promised. Remember, CBS is the same network that was sued by the Trump administration. Well, I believe before Trump actually took office because he took a not liking to the Kamala Harris 60-minute um, interview that was done while the heat for the presidential election in 2024 was going on. He felt that they were being unfair, that they gave her too much time, that they, gave her a chance to go ahead and lay in on him. And I'm like, well, honey, that's politics. That's what you guys do. You guys are opponents in the race. And it wasn't like you took the gloves off when you talked about her, amongst other things. And then, and remember this particular Sunday that passed, he had a heavily edited 60-minute interview that was actually 73 minutes of recording time that actually was reduced to 28 minutes. I believe the full interview is on YouTube on their show right now. But he did say quiet parts out loud, right? But there is nothing really, quiet about 45-47, Agent Orange. He is basically very vocal about his misogyny, very vocal about his racism, very vocal about being that guy that wants to be an autocrat in the federal government that wants to basically just get rid of anything that's not cisgender white male, right? And women have to be subjugated to that. People of color have to be subjugated to that. Additionally, all the attacks that are happening to African American history right about now, with the gutting of the Smithsonian, of the re-erecting Confederate statues that gives basically praise to treasonous traitors of America. Okay. Also, even taking away funding for schools that actually teach that America wasn't as great as it claimed, especially since it propped up the institution of slavery, and it also committed genocide on the soil when it basically unalived Native Americans, indigenous people from its soil to take over, manifest destiny and whatnot. So this is not anything new. Like I said in the beginning, my father would call a move like this sounds about white, right? And if I were actually to put my Daniel Sitteth rule in the pronunciation, it would be sounds about white, okay? So this is just another example of the capitulation of networks to this administration. They don't want the heat from Agent Orange, as the ladies from, I believe the I Had It podcast calls Kankles McTaco Tits. That's it. That's it. And and also basically just like bowing the knee when it comes to reporting concerning this administration because they know that he will retaliate. I mean, like we had the issue with Jimmy Kimmel being suspended, taken off the air briefly until a bunch of people, threatened ABC and also Disney, and they ended up putting him on. And well, and even Colbert had his show have the expectation date to be canceled in May of 2026. Um, thank God for South Park, which is going all the way in on this administration right about now. But it's a shame that we have very few outlets that are actually reporting what's real, including The Daily Show. With Jon Stewart and company, that's actually telling the truth, which is supposed to be a satire news show. So this is crazy to me because journalists now can't be journalists. They are supposed to be part of the fourth estate, which is the press, which is media, which is supposed to be an autonomous institution that is supposed to be a watchdog over what happens in government. And they have an ethical duty to be able to report the truth. But oftentimes that is not the case. Or if you happen to be on 60 Minutes right now and you're interviewing the president, you just ask him questions. He ups and lies and say, okay, well, moving on, because that's basically what happened on 60 Minutes the other night. Good grief, guys, I tell you, you know, it's going to definitely take grassroots organizing to actually be the thing that's going to be the dividing line of what happens going forward with this government. It's going to have to be. We already know that change does not happen from the top down, it happens from the ground up. And just like people mobilized and said, hey, we're not going to be dealing with ABC or Disney, we're going to get rid of our different streaming services, we're not going to watch anymore, yada, yada, yada. And that's the thing that has to transpire oftentimes for these people to actually do the right thing. It has to hit them in their pocketbooks. So, I have a Paramount. I will be the first one to say, yes, I have a Paramount Plus account, but I'm going to have to get rid of it because this is the type of stuff that we can't stand for. We can't stand for organizations, institutions, actual conglomerates to be able to, one, bow the knee to this regime, and two, specifically target people of color, Black people, women, from being able to have certain spots, especially if those people who are working for those establishments don't necessarily have a nice or kind thing to say about the president. And that's the video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please make sure you like, you comment, and you subscribe. Leave in the comment section how you feel about what's happening right now. I love to hear from you. And until next time, please always keep note that at the end of the day, the roots matter.